Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a bit of the pack showdown. We haven't done one in absolutely ages, but finally me and Trout found some time between us to put together this episode. And the dream draw is going on this weekend, and if you're not entirely sure of what this series is about, it's really inspired from the dream draw. And if you want to go and check out the very first episode of this entire series, it might explain to you guys a little bit more about the whole dream draw. I can't even say that, but yeah, so let's get into it. You know, the current team that I have right now is kind of a mixture between a Premier League side as well as a BBVA side, so a La Liga side. I have the likes of, well, now I just managed to pick up myself Coutinho. Coutinho was well, not necessarily Coutinho, but I wanted a better Premier League centre attacking mid. I had Stephen Ireland there who, you know, he did a good job, but there was definitely room for improvement in that area. So if there was one thing I wanted, it was a centre attacking mid Premier League player that was just a little bit better than Stephen Ireland. And that came along in a nice package that was Coutinho, and he'll fit in there very nicely. But I believe there's one more surprise left in this pack opening as far as center attacking mids go. But overall, you know, there wasn't that much else that I really wanted to improve on. I also improved one of my center backs. I run a 3-5-2 formation. 3-5-2 formation is so solid right now. And other than that, though, there wasn't really any players that I was necessarily interested in at all. You know, there was no players here that I was like, oh my god, he would fit perfectly into this team. You know, maybe a better striker to take over from Darren Bent, but besides that, not really. Cleverly there, a center attacking mid who is you know, relatively interesting. I don't think he would be any better than Coutinho though, so for that reason Coutinho would still be in that main spot. But I've got Busquets at defensive mid. I also have Kaká, who I decided to move back to a defensive mid. Although I don't usually approve of stuff like that, I think it fit pretty well. And Gerrard there was the other attacking mid. So now I have Gerrard, Coutinho, Cleverly, who can all play a really solid center attacking midfield role. And in honesty, that just makes my squad 10 times more solid. I've already got a fantastic left mid or left winger, Griezmann. He looks quality. I also got Diego Lopez there in goals. But my current keeper, Duches, there links up perfectly with Sacco. So I really had no real need to swap him out because Sacco is an animal in this game. This guy is huge, and I really wish he was a rare player because he's not rare. He tends to go for, you know, a lot less than what he really should do. But in the last pack, I actually pick up Tello there. Tello's a really good left winger, but unfortunately, he just doesn't fit into the squad I have at the moment. So there you go. If you take a look at it, I mean, he might have fit, but I was just having a lot more fun with Griezmann. There you can see Coutinho. I decided just to freeze the screen here, just so you guys can take a look at my squad. I'll probably end up playing Gerrard instead ahead of Coutinho for most of it, but you know, it does mean I have some really nice room when it comes to this sub bench. So my first game against Trout, I have won every single other week. Will I be able to do it again? Will it be a 2-0? Because we always do a best of 3. So will it be a 2-0, or will he take me to the third game? Or will he 2-0 me, 2-0 me, whatever it is. But he comes back with a 4-3-3 Brazilian side. Now, if you guys remember correctly, he had a bit of a Serie A side, I think it was, last time we played. So it was a bit of a surprise to me, and I'm not going to lie, I was absolutely shitting bricks. I really was. But he gives me a bit of space, and Darren Bent is going to capitalize all over that 9 times out of 10, and that was actually a solid shot from him. And we get off to a really good start. You know, we're playing good football. It was very clear that his defenders were actually pretty slow, so those nice over-the-top through balls through to Hernandez were going to work so much. And there with Hernandez's left foot, it actually just trickles and hits the post and goes inside. So I have to admit, I was quite lucky that that went in, but I really, you know, had to take advantage of the fact that his defenders were slow. But he brought on Welbeck and Santi Cazorla, and then I was like, no, please, you know, he's already made substitutions. We weren't even that far into the game. I personally thought that was a fantastic tackle. Referee said otherwise, and unfortunately, Sacco gives away the penalty. You know, I have to admit, I personally don't think that was a penalty, but sometimes that's just the way this game goes. And he had Carlos Alberto first take it up, and he swaps that over to Wagner Love, which is very much explainable. And he steps up to it, and he takes it and slams it into the left. I thought he was going right, but unfortunately he smacked it towards left, and that brings it 2-1. And in honesty, at this point in the game, I was a little bit nervous. He was really starting to apply a lot of pressure. Look how many players he has up front, but that did mean, you know, he was piling so many people up front. He did kind of make the mistake of just, you know, putting too many people up, and with the likes of Darren Bent and Hernandez, who can counter attack so easily, he really, I don't think he should have gone for that. I think he should have maybe gone for a defensive and you know, just gone for the whole position possession game, because that's what really would have screwed me over. But he decided not to go for that, as he does make a really good last-ditch effort there, and Wagner Love actually beats PK to the header, which kind of surprised me, but sometimes that's just the way this game goes. And he actually goes and picks up another goal to bring back that little lead that I had to make it completely void. But Darren Bent with that stunning. That was a beautiful finish from him. The way he just cut across, I think he has Diego Alves there in goals. Just cuts across the face of him and puts it into the corner. That was just such a fantastic goal from Bent. And Bent picks up his hat-trick to make it 4-2, so we won that game. That was an away game. Really chuffed with that. Great to see us pick up the first win, and that does mean we go into the second game. So, this second game, was I going to be able to shut him out and have another 2-0 on him, or was he going to take me to the third game? It'll be really interesting to see. But, you know, he wasn't too pleased. There was no doubt about it. You could tell from his voice, you know, he was a little bit down. In fact, he was a little bit just pissed off at the game in general. So I really had to take advantage of that. As you can see, my club name Trout's bad. I'm sure that probably got to his head just a little bit. And the team overall though is playing nice. I'm not entirely sure what I think to Gerrard this year. I remember in FIFA 12, Gerrard was an 86 or an 87, something like that. Anyways, he was a much, much bigger rating than what he is now. So, Gerrard back in the day used to be quite a bit better, but he's still solid, you know, he's still got a solid shot on him, and I was willing to give him another go because I was admittedly quite tempted to put in, I was quite tempted to put Coutinho in, but he actually decided to start with Welbeck and Oxlade-Chamberlain. Oxlade-Chamberlain, if you guys remember correctly, caused me an absolute horrible time at the back last time we played. So he obviously was like, alright, I need a bit more attacking presence, and he brought on the Ox, but Gerrard steps up to the plate, left-footed volley right into the corner, and in the 14th minute we go ahead. I was so pleased with that, and that really couldn't have been a better start. And again, from Gerrard proving his worth, that he is definitely the player to play ahead of Coutinho. He gets a little bit unlucky there. There was a bit of lag and things like that, but Gerrard again with his left foot fires that into the top left, and it was just good finishing overall. He got a little bit unlucky there, but a 2-0 win, or 2-0 lead anyway, sorry, is really solid. But Trout, for some reason, I go 2-0 up and he is constantly fighting. Welbeck there, the player that he decided to play ahead of Wagner Love, ends up getting a goal back in the 22nd minute, and immediately I was on the back foot again. He was playing some really good football, overall just playing a really solid game, but I managed to hold control of the ball again and just start to play my game, and that's the way I tend to win these games. Darren Bent with the burst of pace beats his keeper at the near post, and that is the way to play this game. Use that left trigger, right trigger, and get your burst of pace to just fire past the defenders, and then hopefully you've got a striker up there who's got a decent shot on him, and he'll be able to do the business from then on. But a really good triple tap cross. So I noticed that Griezmann was actually in a really good position. He was in that far left, and he actually had a lot of space. But I also noticed one of my attackers, I think it was Darren Bent there that got the goal, was actually making a fantastic run, and it was along the ground. You know, my team, as far as attacking wise, isn't that great in the air, so I had to make that a decision of going for the triple tap cross, and it actually works out really, really well. It's something that is actually very underused, and that's on my part as well. I don't use it enough, or nearly enough as I should be. But at the halftime marker, you know, it was 4-2, and the game was getting pretty heated. I really made a huge mistake there. I kind of put all my eggs in one basket and decided to defend one side of him, and that left the other side, and he exposed that and made that 4-3 at halftime. So he had 3 shots, 3 on target, 3 goals. That is just clinical finishing. But as you can see, I had 11 shots at 9 on target and 4 goals. So the game was definitely I was definitely had the attacking presence, but he was being very clinical in his finishing, which is you know, pretty impressive. So props to him for that. But the control this team has is just unreal. Sometimes when there's Darren Bent and Hernandez up front, you just can't touch him. So a boom baby goal there from Darren Bent. He actually the defenders end up clattering into each other, and that sealed the game, and we win 5-3 there. A solid victory, and that means another week where I go 2-0, and I think I'm up like 4-0 in the series at the moment. So Trout is gonna have to do something special to come back, because at the moment it's pretty rough for the lad. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the Brazilian goodness just couldn't beat my awesome little 3-5-2 hybrid. So we'll have to wait and see. Until then, guys, I'll see you in a bit. Bye bye.